All right, thanks. Great to have everybody back in here. Hope you're all well rested and refreshed. Packed house in here today, but hope you guys had a great off weekend as well, and got a break, got away from it a little bit, like some of us did. It was fantastic for us, like I talked about on the conference call or the teleconference on Sunday night. We practiced 3 days last week, gave the players the weekend off, and we spent time recruiting. I was out 3 days recruiting last week myself, Monday, Thursday, and Friday, in a couple different states. It was great to be able to get out and visit with high school coaches and go to a high school game on Friday night. First time I'd had the opportunity to do that since January of 2020 when I was at Oklahoma. So it was awesome to finally be back out on the road, and great response from the high school coaches and places that we were at, and then came back in here on Sunday, practiced Sunday night. Yesterday was the off day, and then had a fantastic practice this morning. Love where our guys are right now, the mindset that they're practicing with, and the way that they're working. So can't wait to get back at it this week. Wearing this shirt in honor of this Saturday is our annual military appreciation game. So I personally want to thank all of our military across the world for all they do for us and for our country and our freedom. And I'm certainly very grateful for all of them, and honored that we can have a part to recognize them and honor them this weekend for all they do for us. We'll have a group of student vets leading the team out to 2001. We'll have soldiers from various units assisting with the annual Salute to the Military halftime show. We will be holding a re-enlistment and enlistment ceremony prior to the start of the game, and then there'll be some other smaller presentations for different honorees throughout the day as well. So really cool event, and really fortunate and thankful that we can be a part of it as well. Going to need a great environment in there on Saturday night. We've played in some hostile environments on the road this season ourselves, when the first SEC away game, and really every SEC away game that we've played. That's what you expect in the SEC. We've played in front of hostile, loud, packed, sold-out stadiums every week that we've been on the road this year in the SEC, and we will need that from our fans on Saturday night as well. And we know what a great fan base we have here, and we've got 3 out of our last 4 games at home, 2 SEC games, and our in-state rival. Saturday night, primetime television. If you can't get excited for that, I can't help you guys. And it's going to be an unbelievable environment, an unbelievable atmosphere. Our players are practicing their butts off right now, and we certainly appreciate our fan base and the home field advantage that they create in Williams-Brice Stadium. Our guys are excited, can't wait to get out there on Saturday night. Our coaches can't wait to get out there on Saturday night, and I hope our fans can't wait to get out there on Saturday night, and we can have a packed Williams-Brice Stadium, because that's what these young men in this program deserve. Got a big challenge on Saturday night with Florida coming to town. Certainly it's impressive with when you look at them, the personnel they have on their roster from top to bottom. You look at their defense, it's size, it's length, it's athleticism. They've got some transfers that are helping them defensively. They've got some guys that they recruited that are older guys that are playing well. They've got good players. A lot of these guys we recruited when I was at Oklahoma, and we won it at Oklahoma, and we lost them to Florida. So talented defense. Obviously, Coach Mullen has always prided himself on special teams, going back to when he was at Mississippi State, and the plays that they've made. He's a guy that they're dangerous in the return game. Their cover units are dominant. He's not afraid to fake a punt at any time as well. So we've certainly got to do a great job of that and playing better on special teams than what we did against A&M. And then offensively, really impressive offensively as well. Number 2 in the SEC in average per play offensively. Number 1 in the SEC in yards per rush. Georgia had been holding teams to an average of 208 yards per game, and Florida dropped 355 on them Saturday. It's the highest anybody's put up on Georgia this season. Florida's outgained their opponents in every game this season. They rushed for more yards against Georgia last week than anyone has since the Sugar Bowl when Georgia played Texas back on January 1st of 2019. All you got to do is turn on the video and see that with less than 3 minutes left in the first half Saturday, that's a 3-0 game. And we all know what kind of football team Georgia has. And obviously turnovers affected them there at the end of the half, and the game got away from them a little bit. But they're not lacking for talent, and this is a really good football team that we have coming in here on Saturday night to compete against us. But our guys are looking forward to competing. Injury-wise, Zeb was out there today at practice and threw the ball, continues to get better. I just say Wanham is questionable. Dylan Wanham is questionable for Saturday night. I would say Jalen Dickerson is very doubtful right now for Saturday night. And other than that, just normal bumps and bruises, but nobody that we look at right now and say they can't go. So we got to continue to have a great week of practice, put another great day together tomorrow morning, another great day on Thursday, then a great Friday walkthrough, and go play well on Saturday night. So with that, be glad to answer any questions.
How's it going, Shane? Just what with Zeb and Jason? I know it's kind of the popular topic, but just what does Zeb have to do, I guess, tomorrow to show you that he's full go ready to start on Saturday?
Yeah, be able to he and Jason both, and Colton and Connor, all the quarterbacks, they need to practice well and compete and show that they're the best person for the job on Saturday night. And then from just a health standpoint with Zeb, I think the biggest thing is just the mobility. He can sit in the pocket and throw. He could do that today. He did that today. There's a difference between that and then being able to, if you get flushed out of the pocket or you got to scramble or you got to run, how effective he would be doing that with his knee. But he got the surgery last weekend. He stayed around here all weekend to rehab and get better. So he was really far along with the rehab on Sunday night when we came back to practice. We were really pleased with where he was after the weekend of rehab and was better today than what he was yesterday, and has just got to continue to progress during the week. But for us, to me, he needs to do something more. He needs to be able to do more in practice tomorrow than what he did today, which today was good. Let's keep taking steps throughout the week of practice.
When you talk about success, obviously, on the outside, whether it be the fans, critics, when they look at the offensive success coming out of the bye week, it's easy to look at the score, it's easy to look at statistics, but as a coach, what do you measure success looking like coming out of that bye week?
You talking about like this week or what we did last week compared to now into this week? Yeah, I think just continuing, not continuing, we got to be more efficient, and we've talked to our guys a lot about just competing and making competitive plays, and are there some plays that we would like to have back that we called against Texas A&M? Sure, but a lot of them were plays that we felt like gave us a chance to be successful that we lost some one-on-one battles, whether it be in protection or route running or covering receivers or whatever it may be on any phase. So we've got to compete, we've got to win our one-on-one battles, and to me, if we do that in all those phases, that is progress, and that will allow us to have more success and hopefully score more points and be more efficient on offense. But it's a lot. We got to stay on the field. We got to protect the quarterback. We've got to run the football. We can't have bad snaps over the quarterback's head. We can't have snaps that hit the guy going in motion. Just things that didn't show up in practice that showed up against A&M. So let's be more efficient and cleaner offensively, but let's start with just out-competing the opponent and winning those one-on-one battles.
Shane, I think Jalen Brooks has been out for a while with the personal issue. Do you anticipate him back for Florida?
No.
And is there a timetable of when you might anticipate him back at all?
No. Sorry. Hopefully soon, but I talked to Jalen last night. Love the kid, and hopefully we'll have him back soon. I FaceTimed with him last night for a while.
Shane, you touched on recruiting and being able to get it back out on the road. Just obviously it changes a little bit as a head coach with what you're doing, but I guess what do you see as your philosophy as being a head coach and recruiting, balancing the calendar of it all in season, out of season, and how do you kind of take to it?
Good question. I don't feel that I might get one of those. No, it's every day. I think maybe in the old days you could say, not do much, focus on your football team, and then all of a sudden you get out on the road recruiting in December and January, and that's kind of when you start recruiting, and that's not the way it is. You've got to do it 365 days a year. I was, quote unquote, I kidded somebody the other night. Sometimes to me the bye weeks in college football are busier than the game weeks, because last week we practiced on Monday morning and I was on a plane and out recruiting Monday afternoon. We practiced Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was gone all day Thursday, all day Friday. Got back late Friday night. Saturday was off, but I think during the day on Saturday, I spent a lot of the afternoon with the family and being a fan like you guys, but talked to a lot of recruits on the phone as well. So it's every day, whether it be texting, FaceTiming, talking to high school coaches. It's nonstop. And certainly as the head coach, I've got to set the direction. I've got to set the example, for everyone. So we spend a lot of time on it. I'd probably I don't know how much the staff liked me back in January and February and March, because we were up here pretty much every night till late, just doing virtual visits and Zoom calls and things like that with recruits. But it's great. And you've got Kirby said it after his game the other day, just about recruiting and the importance of it. And I learned that from him in my 2 years in Athens. Not that, I didn't know it already. Going back to Philip Fulmer at the University of Tennessee and the importance he put on recruiting when I was a graduate assistant there, and seeing that from him. And you got to have great players, and we've got a great place to recruit to here at South Carolina. And it was exciting to be able to get on the road last week and talk to high school coaches about that.
Shane, just in your opinion, how has the offensive line played this season?
This season, not good enough. And that's not just them, the offense in general. And when you're struggling running the football, when you're struggling doing a lot of things, it's easy to always point at the offensive line, and that's not always fair. They've done a lot of good things, and there's a lot of things that they've got to be better. And frankly, when we're not as efficient offensively as we would like to be, it's on all of us. So if you ask me that about the running backs, the quarterbacks, the receivers, the tight ends, the coaches, none of us have been good enough, through 8 games. But here we are on November, whatever today is, 2nd, and we got 4 games left. We got a great chance to finish strong. But nobody is happy with where we are, and we've all got to be better offensively for sure. Because the offensive line's done some good things, and I've talked about it in here before. Before in here, David, is sometimes a run may not look good, and it could be the quarterback was supposed to pull it, or the quarterback was supposed to get out of the play, or the tight end didn't get the backside D gap cut off or C gap, or the receiver didn't push crack the safety, and the safety made the play. And so everybody has a hand in the run game, but obviously the offensive line gets the bulk of the credit and the blame. And overall, as an offense, we're not where we want to be.
And you hear that phrase, after 8 games, you are what you are. But in the next 4 games, is there something that you can do that would cause a drastic change to make it better in terms of scheme or just better players, anything like that you can do?
No, I think we just continue to try and get better, and it was nowhere near good enough against Texas A&M. You guys know it, and I know that. But it's also sometimes there's an old expression that things are never as good as they seem, never as bad as they seem. They're somewhere in between, and we were not good enough against Texas A&M. But then you also see some things where you realize it's not as terrible as maybe it looked for 4 quarters. And I know that's hard to say based on what you look at statistically. I get it. But I see how we practice. I see the things that our guys do in practice. I see us getting better. And to me, I think it goes back to just, Mike's question. For us to get better, we got to execute and compete better and win those one-on-one battles. And we've done a lot, not change practice, but we've tried to do a little bit more in practice, just competitive drills, first defense versus first offense, put the ball down and let's go. And we've had a little bit more of that in practice last week. The players loved it. We did more of that today, and we'll continue to as well, because that's how I know to get better, is just put your head down and go to work. And I see what we do in practice during the week, and I realize that we got a lot of guys that are making progress, and got to keep coaching them.
Shane, about the offensive inconsistency, how much has the quarterback injuries led to some of that? Because, Zeb goes through practice 1 week and then he's out, and then Luke takes over and then he's out. Has that led to some inconsistency?
Yeah, it certainly hasn't helped. I was out recruiting last week and was on our school plane with our fantastic athletic department pilot, Larry Evans, and was kidding with Larry that it's not a good thing when you get on the plane and your starting quarterback and your backup quarterback have both been on that plane that week going somewhere to get surgeries. That's never good. That's not ideal as a coach, but certainly it doesn't help. I mean, you got to have a quarterback. Period. I mean, if you look at the great offenses across high school football, college football, the NFL, pretty common denominator is they've all got really good quarterback play. So you got to have a quarterback, and then you got to be able to keep them healthy. And we have quarterbacks, we haven't been able to keep them healthy. So certainly it doesn't help, but that's not an excuse. I mean, whoever's in there, you got to be able to go in there and operate and be efficient. And we got to help them as coaches and allowing them to be efficient, the quarterback and then the guys around them. But certainly it's not ideal when you had multiple quarterbacks and potentially, depending on Zeb's situation, potentially starting your third quarterback of the season this week, two of which were not even here, last year for the football team. So it's not ideal, but everybody's got problems and struggles and adversity, and we all gotta elevate ourselves, our game around whoever's in there playing quarterback as well. It's even more onus on the offensive line and the rest, the tight ends, the quarterbacks, the tight ends, the receivers, the running backs, the coaches, the defense, the special teams. When somebody goes down, everybody's got to elevate their game.
Shane, with EJ and Jason having known each other for a long time, just what have you observed about their relationship with one another? And two, how much can that help each of those guys having a guy that's known them for a long time since middle school and kind of been able to come up and through the entire journey of their football careers?
Yeah, no, it's really big. I saw a picture of you on Twitter too. Fantastic Halloween costume as well. I think that was big time. I think it's really good. I know it is. I mean, those two are like attached at the hip, and you really don't hardly see one without the other. And they're great young men first and foremost. I remember the first time we talked to one of them on the phone in recruiting, we talked to the other one. Like, they were always together, and it was going to be one of those things. EJ wasn't going anywhere without Jason, and Jason wasn't going anywhere without EJ. And we kid Jason all the time that if we've got 5 receivers out on the route, there's about a 97% chance the ball's going to EJ, no matter whether he's open or not. And it's just the relationship they have, and it goes way beyond football, but there's a great connection for those guys. There's a great they have great care and love, for one another, and it's a pretty cool story with both of them, and they're great young men, and thankful that both of them are in our program.
Going back a little bit, can you describe what Sunday and Monday were like last week for you guys when it comes to the self-scouting process? Like, what kind of things happen? What kind of games do y'all break down? Who's doing what? Just kind of break that down for me. What Sunday and Monday kind of look like?
Yeah, Sunday we played Saturday night, got back super late Sunday, so Sunday was really just back in the office mid-morning. I think we got back at 3 or 4 in the morning, something like that, and we were back in here 4 or 5 hours later as coaches reviewing the game. Players came in, we reviewed the Texas A&M game and met as a staff, and then starting on Monday morning, self-scout wise, it probably wasn't that much out of the ordinary from what any school does. I would say every school in the country, when they have an off week or an open week, they self-scout themselves. We do it anyway during the season, every game, just to make sure that we don't have any tendencies that are popping up. But when you have an off week this late, you have one more time to do it because it's an off week. But then, two, it's 8 games in, so you have a really big body of work. So, we just went back and looked at everything from defensively, special teams, offense, formations, motions, alignments on offense, on defense. Do we have tendencies on down and distance? Do we have tendencies on coverages? Are we disguising coverages enough? Are we tipping off what we're doing based on the way the defensive tackles lined up or what hand is down? Every single thing you can think of. And then we also went back and looked at what are we doing well? Because there's a lot of things that we are doing well, and let's really look at why we are. Is it a personnel thing that those guys need to be in the game, or are there things we're not doing well? Well, if so, why not? Is it personnel? Is it just scheme? We looked around at other schools, other colleges, who's doing certain things on offense, or there's things that we can take from somebody else that's built like us personnel-wise and schematically. So, I mean, it's a lot. We had Donnie Both, one of our graduate assistants, kind of broke down our receivers like he would break down Florida's receivers this week, like he does for Coach Gray in the defense each week. And do we have tendencies on where Josh Van lines up, or E.J. Jenkins, or do we have a tendency if this receiver's on the ball, but this on this play, and then he's off the ball? So, I mean, everything that you can think of. I mean, there's still stuff that we're going through, and a lot of it just wasn't anything like eye-opener, like, oh my God, we're 100% run on 1st and 10. I mean, it's not like that. But you certainly find things that you want to try and break those tendencies, but I don't think it's anything earth-shattering. I mean, we do it all the time, and I would say that other schools, or at least the ones I've been part of, do it as well.
Shane, correct me if I'm wrong, but the run scheme is primarily a zone blocking scheme when you guys are doing it?
Yeah, primarily. It's been inside zone. We won the East Carolina game running outside zone towards the end. We've run a little bit of gap scheme, meaning like counter plays. We've run a little bit more of that recently. But yeah, primarily inside zone, outside zone, a little bit of counter.
And I guess in terms of that with inside zone, outside zone, and then counter, what about this personnel grouping, this group of running backs, offensive line, makes you think that that's the right scheme and maybe tailored more towards your personnel? What about those schemes really tailors itself?
I mean, it's things that I don't think, to me, inside zone, outside zone, pretty much everybody in the country runs it. I don't think you necessarily have to have certain personnel to do it. You've got to outside zone specifically with that, to me, is good because you don't have to necessarily have a big, powerful, physical 350-pound offensive line across the board where you just maul people. Outside zone, it's a lot of just getting the guys running, and then the running back, either pressing that ball and keeping it outside, or pressing it and then up cutting and getting vertical, which is what was happening against East Carolina at the end of the game on some of that stuff. Inside zone is good as well. You get movement, and running backs able to press the line of scrimmage and find a crease and hit it. But to answer your question, I think our personnel with our running backs and our offensive line, I mean, we feel confident with the primary schemes that we're running. We got to be able. There are plays that you should be able to execute against most any front, and then they're the same things that we did all through spring practice and all through preseason camp. It wasn't like we got to the Troy game or the Kentucky game and said, oh man, we're struggling running the football, let's start running outside zone or inside zone this week. We've been doing it since we got here, and I think you got to be careful about trying to do too many run schemes on offense, and then you're not very good at anything. At Georgia, in 2017, obviously we had a great offensive line, had Nick Chubb and Sony Michel and DeAndre Swift and Elijah Holyfield, but we didn't do many different schemes. We basically had the same run scheme every single week and just ran that over and over. So you'd love to be able to do that, but you also got to be multiple enough where you can mix it up also and keep teams off balance.
Hey, Shane, speaking of being multiple and going back to the quarterback situation, when you have a quarterback room that's fairly diverse in terms of each guy being good at doing something a little different, when you're kind of plugging and playing different guys at this point in the season, how do you and Marcus kind of toe that line of wanting to keep the offensive scheme consistent and also wanting to tailor little plays here and there for guys that are good at doing different things?
Yeah, no, good question. I mean, it's something that we've spent time talking about this week, obviously, and you got to be careful about doing too much. You want to be simple enough where your guys can just line up and go play physical and go execute. You want to be multiple enough where you're able to keep defenses off balance and not allow Florida's defense or whoever you're playing to just know exactly what you're in and just dig their heels in or dig their hands in the ground and go play football. But then you also want to be able to highlight and get your playmakers the ball and mix it up and things like that. And so you got it is it is a fine balance, for sure. And it's a lot of the same concepts that we do week after week. And then we're just maybe spicing it up with a new formation or something like that, just doing it out of a different look. And then certainly each week there's things that are specific to that opponent, but you do have to be careful about getting too much going on and spreading yourself too thin in so many ways. But, we're always going to try and get the ball to our top playmakers on offense, and then we're always going to line up and try and run the football first and foremost, and then, making sure that, like I said, you're multiple enough where you can mix it up and get different guys the ball. But you do have to be cognizant of not trying to do too much and getting spread out everywhere.
Shane, you said you had a pretty good practice this morning and you felt really good about the workouts and making progress. Is there one thing you can point to that you feel confident is going to carry over to Saturday night, especially when it comes to maybe some of the things that you haven't been so successful at this season?
Yeah, you hope. I mean, obviously there's a really good opponent coming in here on Saturday night, but I base it off of the energy and the competitive spirit and the physicality that we saw in practice last week and that you saw this morning. Coming off that loss in College Station last week, I wasn't worried, but that's not easy. Lose like we did, you have an off week, and then you've got to go out there and practice 3 days. And I think I told some of you guys on the teleconference on Sunday night, I've got players asking me to practice longer last week than what we were doing. And we weren't out there for a short period of time. It was a little bit shorter than a normal game week practice, but they wanted that, just the energy and the competitive spirit. We did a physical kind of live period today in practice, and JJ came to me after practice, said, "Can we do that again tomorrow?" He was mad because some of the offensive guys had some success and were letting him know about it, and his competitive spirit got amped up a little bit, and he wanted to do it again tomorrow. So that is what you would hope carries over into Saturday night. Is they love to go out there and compete, and the work ethic and the effort that they're practicing with. We don't have to coax it out of them. I don't come into our team meeting on Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. and have to come out with some Newt Rockney motivational speech to go get them to go practice hard. They love to compete. They love to be out there with each other. They love to work. They're having fun out there, and you can't ask any more as a coach than that. Well, you can. You got to play better, and we got to coach better. So hopefully we'll do that on Saturday night. But the effort and the physicality and the way they're working has never been in question, and that is what gives you hope going forward and in the short term on Saturday night, beyond any kind of scheme that we may be running Saturday.
Shane, I know the depth charts that you send out to us each week, so I have an understanding of who's behind who, but I ask that because, what is either preventing or holding back a guy like E.J. Jenkins from being able to see the field more and being able to just get out there maybe in certain situational packages as well?
We've got to get E.J. out there more. I think I talked about it. Hopefully you guys were all tuned in to Carolina Calls a couple weeks ago on Thursday night. It's a great 1-hour radio show. If you're not, I highly recommend it. But I got asked that question, and a lot of it is the way that we do things offensively. Our X receiver, we have an X and a Z receiver and an F. And, the F for us is Dacarrion Joyner and Amarian Brown. The Z for us is Xavier Legette and was Jalen Brooks. And then the X is Josh Vann and E.J. Jenkins. So a lot of that, on the simple answer, is Josh and E.J. are playing the same position, and you want Josh in there as much as possible, but you want E.J. in there as much as well. And then before anybody says, well, why don't you just be multiple and get E.J. on the field and have him play something else? That's a great point. So we need to do that. And E.J. has continued to improve in practice and has put himself in position to be able to get out there more and more. And we certainly want to have the multiplicity to be able to, have Josh Vann and E.J. on the field at the same time, or have Dacarrion and Legette on the field at the same time. Because it's not like it's super different. Like if you're the Z, you don't know what the X is doing. I mean, it's the same stuff. It's just different formations and things like that. So to answer your question, part of that is the same position as Josh. Part of that is he's working harder in practice, and part of that too is Josh Van's a pretty spectacular player as well, and you want him out there as much as you can also.
I'm a longtime Carolina Calls listener.
Thank
so
you.
Appreciate the plug there.
You like that, Zach, don't you?
With the transfer portal and you guys just monitoring, other players who get in there and trying to look to see who you want to add to the roster. How do you guys manage that? Because obviously there are players getting in it every day, all day, every day. What's sort of your operation behind that?
Yeah, we're probably like a lot of schools that with the recruiting departments that you have, they're monitoring it pretty closely. Taylor Edwards and Drew Hickson, our recruiting staff, player personnel department, and aware of who may be going in it as well. And we all have contacts with high school coaches and people as well, where somebody may call and say, hey, Hale's going in the portal here this afternoon, just a heads up and things like that. So, I mean, you're constantly hearing information, but we're so focused. We're recruiting, don't get me wrong, but, I mean, we're so focused on game planning each day. It's not like we as coaches just sit there and monitor the portal, all day long, because there are so many guys going in there throughout the day. But for us, it's Taylor and Drew. They're monitoring it. They're aware of who's in there and who's going in there and where they're from and things like that, and just kind of keeping an eye on that also.
Shane, Jeopardy's on during Carolina Calls, so
Come on, Pete.
But I wanted to ask about
Record it.
Election Day and the day off. You guys got a waiver, I assume, to practice. What's going to be your policy going forward? Is a waiver the way you want to go with this, or will you specifically have time for the guys who want to go vote to go vote?
Yeah, no, we talked about it as a team, and this was the direction that we went. We had part of our team meeting on Sunday was kind of a guest speaker on voting rights and history of elections across the United States and in South Carolina, the voting process, how it works, what you need to do to be able to vote. And we made it very, clear to our guys that we wanted to help that process in any way. Our team meeting this morning started at 8 a.m., so they had the ability, if they wanted to go vote before then, they could. And then we made it clear to them, the guys that wanted to go vote or are going to vote, that we wanted to help facilitate that as best as we could. So going forward, I don't know. I mean, I'm all for whatever. And I know we got a waiver, and I'll be honest with you, it wasn't a whole lot of time. It was, we're either going to practice on Monday or Tuesday. We're trying to get a waiver so we can practice on Tuesday. We got the waiver, and part of that waiver was doing the presentation that we did on Sunday in the team meeting as well. But like I told our players after the team meeting, that go vote. We want you to vote, and that is your right, and that's what makes this country great. And take advantage of that opportunity, and by no means are we keeping you from voting, even though we practice tomorrow morning. We want to make that readily available and possible for the guys that wanted to go do it, for sure. Good. All right. Thank y'all. Have a good week.